What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Dayton Triangles franchise here on Madden 25 with 31 other team builder squads as well. Here we are in year number 5, and we were off to an incredibly slow start. We were 0-4. We looked like a team that was just dead in the water. And yet here we go, finding ourselves with an opportunity to right the ship. We got a 4-game winning streak going, but looking to build upon that as we get into the second half of the season. It's a big episode here. We got some highlights for 4 games that I want to play here today. Definitely want to take on the divisional leaders in Evansville, play this divisional game against Columbus, and then also take on Tampa Bay and Atlanta as well. And we're just looking to see if we can continue to build this momentum that we have procured so far leading up into the bye week. Let's see how much we retain through the end of the bye week as well. So it should be an exciting one. And I hope you guys enjoy this video, man. If you do, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you happen to be brand new. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into it. But before we get into any of that game action, particularly against Evansville, who will be the first game in this episode, we do have some questions that we are fielding regarding DeAndre Bazier. And the big thing for DeAndre Bazier is that he does have the opportunity to get a development upgrade. We have a chance to see what he can do in terms of handling that pressure of being a potential wide receiver 1 someday. So we do have a game development goal in order to get DeAndre Bazier up to that star development, which would be really helpful. Now, on the other hand, we are preparing for our matchup, figuring out what we can do defensively, and it does seem like they do have issues in terms of trying to figure out how to pass block on a consistent basis. That has been an Achilles heel for this Evansville football team, particularly their interior defensive line. So really what we need to utilize and make sure that we're doing is that we are blitzing that from the interior more often than not, overwhelm them in the center, and make sure that Greg Stewart, who is their center, is able to actually go out and give up multiple sacks. And if we can do that, then we have a good chance of winning that game. And then finally, before we jump into the first game that we have in this episode, we do have a couple of players getting upgrades. Most notably, Jeff Sharp, our first round rookie, is going to get some upgrades, and definitely want to work on his pass coverage and continue to build upon that particular strength for him. And Jeff Sharp will in fact turn into a 76 overall following the upgrade. Gets some pluses across the board, and also an ability slot as well, which is really interesting to see. Looks like he will get the extra pop ability, which has a greater chance of forcing fumbles when landing that perfect head stick. And then also getting an upgrade as well is Donovan Smith, who is a lot younger than I thought. You know, looking at his face, I thought he was like a 35-year-old man divorced with 3 kids or something, but he's actually a rookie out of Boise State, fun fact of the day. And we're going to work on his agility, try to get him to be a little bit faster. And after that upgrade, he jumps up to a 64, getting him a little bit closer to where if we needed him in a backup situation, we would be a little bit more comfortable with, at least on a temporary basis. He's getting +2s for run blocking, finesse, and awareness. So the game plan taking it care of, as well as the game development goal for DeAndre Bazier. Let's now jump into our divisional rival against Evansville, and we'll jump in with about 7 minutes left to play in the first quarter as we try to get some early points to get things settled in, as we finally on Thomas opened down the seam and had to throw it right on the money. And sure enough, it was. Threw him to the left-hand side so that he can protect his body a little bit better. And it sets us up in a legitimate red zone opportunity. But we got to convert this third down as well. Otherwise, the best that we can do is probably tie this game up. 3rd and 3 coming up as Whitfield lines up in the shotgun. Looks to the right-hand side. He finds Darius Hayward, the 2nd-round pick out of Alabama, is going to pick up the first down. Now setting up a goal line opportunity as well, as we got 1st and goal from the 8. As now Jonathan McGriff, he's going to run it up the left-hand side and nearly gets it into the end zone. That is the UFL's leading rusher there, nearly finding the end zone yet again, but we'll use him as a decoy on the very next play. And DeAndre Bazier, he's going to find the end zone. Touchdown, Dayton! And we're going to take an early lead against this Evansville football team. But after that touchdown to DeAndre Bazier, there was not much happening in the first half. Matter of fact, we only take a 76 lead into a halftime locker room, so we'll use this time to go ahead and check out some things around the league, and we actually have a little bit of barn burn between Orlando and Columbus, a battle of very bad teams. They are tied at 14 at the half. Meanwhile, we are looking at Louisville, who is in some deep trouble as the Charlotte Knights have a 17-7 lead against 7-2 Louisville. So that's definitely a little bit of a surprise. And then Boston has a slight lead against Chicago as well. Chicago putting together a really excellent season out in the NFC, coming in, I think, with a 6-2 record, if I saw that correctly. So with that being said, we'll go ahead now, jump into that second half of action just to see if we can continue to, keep pace with Evansville, who comes in with one of the best records in the league themselves, as Whitfield wants to go over the middle, was trying to, I think, target Cam Johnson, the former undrafted rookie out of Mississippi Valley State, but unfortunately, we did overthrow him, so that means we did have to settle for yet another field goal. So 10-6 now your score, and Evansville putting together yet another drive. They want to find the end zone. They just haven't been able to make that end zone happen necessarily, as we got 3rd and short coming up. Mike Brock is going to set up play action. He's got plenty of time to throw his ball over to the right-hand side, and Jeff Sharp, the first-round rookie out of USC, he nearly brings the drive to an early end. But with that being said, though, it is 4th down, and they're going to actually go for it here on 4th and short. See what Evansville decides to do. We're going to go with a fullback dive, and it works to perfection. We were not expecting the fullback dive. The drive will end up continuing, and a couple of plays later, we are going to not be able to bring the running back down. Daryl McLeod goes for the quarterback, goes for the completely wrong person, and Alonzo Roach is going to give Evansville the lead. And so jumping to in this 4th quarter of action, and Evansville looking to put the nail in the coffin when with this particular score for Alonzo Roach, it's certainly not looking good for us at all. That's his 2nd score of the afternoon, and so we are going to need to bring points of our own if we want to try to get back into this thing. As Whitfield on a 3rd and 5 looks to the right-hand side, throws a dart over to the right-hand side, and finds Leon Thomas in the end zone. Touchdown, Dayton! Just nobody there in the vicinity, and so Dayton is now right back into the thick of things. Less than 3 minutes left to play, but we got to get the stop here on 3rd down, but we don't do it. It's not the best throw in the world, but still able to get both feet down, and so Evansville's going to start being able to run down this clock. So that's something to certainly keep an eye on, as they're not going to go and run the ball. They're actually going to continue to pass it, and that is just a blessing in disguise, man. Yes, we probably could have covered a whole lot better, but at the same time, though, if they're going to keep doing this, hey, we're perfectly okay with that, as that sack for J.J. Peters, well, that is going to, in fact, take us into the 2-minute warning, but notice that they are probably at least like a play sooner that we would have been in the 2-minute warning if it wasn't for the late decisions trying to keep us into this thing. And now they're going to run it here on 3rd and 23, but just absolutely no shot that they are going to be able to pick up this third down conversion. And they also, because they took that sack as well, they were outside of field goal range. So now we have a chance to at least tie it, force overtime. Gotta be smart with our 2 timeouts. Whitfield looks to right inside, wanting to target Darius Hayward, but threw it a little bit too tall for him. And so it's now going to be 2nd and 10, as Whitfield's going to dump it off to Jonathan McGriff, but that doesn't really go anywhere. So we have to use one of our 2 timeouts. We have 1 timeout remaining, but not really utilizing those timeouts in a fashion that we necessarily want to, right? So it's going to be 3rd and 5 coming up here for the boys in blue as Whitfield wants to throw to the left, had DeAndre Bazier, but threw him short. He just kind of short hopped it, kind of rushed the delivery, and so we got to pick up this 1st down. Otherwise, the game is over as Leon Thomas goes into motion. Whitfield drops back, looks over the middle, finds DeAndre Bazier. That is a 1st down, and so that gives us a little bit of hope. 1:16 left and a couple of plays later. Whitfield looking, wants to go to the left-hand side, wanted Cam Johnson, but he fails to haul it in. It does stop the clock at 1:12, but a 3rd and long is not where we want to be. Want to pick up some yards here on this particular 3rd down as Whitfield's going to step up. Has Leon Thomas, but he misses him as well. Just Marvin Whitfield, dare I say it, might be having a little bit of the yips in the pocket. And so it comes down to this. 4th and 7. Looking for a play. Can Whitfield deliver? Dropping back. The quarterback out of Old Dominion throws to Hayward, but he can't reach the 1st down marker. So that means Evans is going to take over. And the Evansville Thunderbirds are going to continue their hot start. They are going to be 8-2 after this victory against us, where after all of his hard work of getting back out of our initial hole, we are now under 500 once again. Now, even though it does always suck to lose, and it's certainly, it's a little bit of a gut punch to lose for the 1st time in the last 5 weeks, at the same time, though, I am encouraged by what I'm seeing on the field. We are a better football team than when we originally played these guys at home, and only losing by 3 on the road to a very good Evansville team. Yes, it is a loss, and that's going to hurt our playoff chances, but I'm feeling very encouraged moving forward. Hopefully, we can continue to get better. Now, as for Marvin Whitfield, he was okay, nothing too crazy though. He goes 17 for 33, 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we did have a difficult time getting our passing attack going in this one. Jonathan McGriff also struggled to find his rhythm on the ground as well. He averaged less than 4 yards a carry. Did carry the ball a decent amount, 16 times, but only resulted in 61 yards. For the receivers, Leon Thomas did find the end zone off of 4 catches and 72 yards. And then DeAndre Bazier actually led the team in catches in this one. He had 6 catches for 40 yards as well, but nobody else was able to top 40 yards in this ball game. But again, I definitely want to point out the overall improvements of our defense. Jeff Sharp is going to lead the team in tackles. The 1st round pick does get 9 total tackles, most of those solos, by the way, and then Ty Moody wasn't too far behind with 7 himself. We also did a decent job of generating pressure. We generated, I think, about 3 sacks today, although it's only accounting for 2.5, which is weird to me, but is what it is. Daryl McLeod does get 1.5 sacks, so he did have a solo in there. And then J.J. Peters and Gabe Truman, a 5th round pick that we got a couple of years ago, he actually was able to get in there, and he had half a sack as well. No turnovers in this game, and we didn't cough the ball ourselves, so it was a clean game by both sides. Unfortunately, it does not lead to a win, but again, compared to where we were in those first, month of the season or so, this defense is looking like a much improved unit. But even though we took a pretty tough loss on the road against Evansville, what we can say is that at the very least, we got an upgrade for one of our players. Denario Allen does, in fact, get a nice little upgrade for us. And, I want to work on his weaknesses, and that's his, kind of being that hybrid where he's both effective in coverage as well as in those blitzing situations. So we'll go ahead and use the hybrid upgrade, and he jumps up to an 87 overall. So it's turned into an extremely good football player. He's got +2s for man, zone, and play recognition. And so he's starting to get to a point where, hey, maybe he's starting to get on this radar of certain NFL teams, that might need a extra free safety body, in the following preseason. You never know. But with that being said, we do have to go back into our press conference to take some tough questions out of the Gem City media, as we do have a chance to talk about DeAndre Bazier, just asking how we're feeling about him after the game, and seeing, at this point, we just got to see how he reacts from this point on. It wasn't a game that we wanted, unfortunately, so that means that we will see DeAndre Bazier fail to get that development upgrade, And then we also don't really execute our defensive game plan either, just bad all around. But with that being said, we move into a new week as we try to move forward after the difficult loss that we experienced, and our rookie tight end is going to get an upgrade. Now, I'm really pleased to see how Darius Hayward has contributed onto this team in spite of, being our backup tight end and all. So we'll give him a vertical threat upgrade, and he does actually get up to a 70 overall. So already ready to contribute with major pluses to medium route running and that release as well. Not sure if he's ready to be an eventual starter for us full-time yet, but he certainly has a bright future with our football team, and I genuinely believe that. But a brand new week is going to approach us here for Ian Alexander as we are getting ready to take on the Tampa Bay Bandits for the next game that we have in this episode. And really taking the time to go into the team meeting room just to make sure that we're prepared as possible for our next upcoming matchup. And so talking about this Tampa Bay Bandits team in particular, we talked about how their offense could cause some problems for their defense. And I know that our defense has steadily improved since that egregiously bad start that we had at the beginning of the year, but still a defense that can be vulnerable at times. So I want to make sure that our DBs are doing a much better job in play recognition, because I feel like that's probably the softest part about our defense right now, is getting up all those big plays in the secondary. And we'll see if that works out for us as we'll go on the road to take on this Tampa Bay squad. Tampa Bay coming in 6-4 record, so they're certainly a solid team, not a liquid or gas. As Whitfield gets in the pocket here, and Tampa Bay sends the blitz. Barely got it away, but we did not see Grayson Heidick in the nick of time, though, as that's now going to bring up 3rd and long. Want to definitely do better than what we did on this on those first couple of plays, as Whitfield fires to the right-hand side, and it's going to be short of the first down marker. Now, we could go for it, and to be honest, I'm feeling very confident in our offense because we know what we have in Jonathan McGriff. Let's see if he can pick up this first down for us, and unfortunately, no, we do not. It works catastrophically bad. We're going to give Tampa Bay the ball inside our own 30. It was a bold decision. I will admit that, but I truly believed in my offensive line. And unfortunately, the offensive line made me out to be a liar, man. That's what they do sometimes. They love to make you a liar, whether it's your virtual characters or, maybe it's a newborn kid. I don't know. But what I do know is that I put this defense in a very compromising position. And that's just the one thing that we simply cannot do at all. Now, the defense is going to hold strong here. They're going to have, for the most part, it seems like a goal line stand. It's just a matter of, can we keep them out of the end zone for one more play? Because they are, in fact, going for it. We'll see what they do here. It's actually going to be a pass looking over the middle, and because we don't get there in time, Sullivan, who was uncovered, is going to have probably the easiest touchdown of his entire UFL career. And just like that, we're already going to find ourselves down 7-0, and it's not going to get any better. We're going to give up yet another touchdown through the air. This time, it's to DeAndre Sherman. Yes, that is a wide receiver. Don't let that running back number fool you at all. So we're down 14-0. Make it 17-0, excuse me. And 2-minute drill, so vital right now. We have not done anything in this first half. It's honestly been a pretty disgusting effort, by my opinion. Surely, it doesn't help that we ended up going for it 4th and short from our own 30. But we're not going to go to that route right now. We're not going to blame it on that. But what I will say is we got some major work that needs to be done, though, as we'll throw over the middle to Leon Thomas. And Leon Thomas will at least get across the 30-yard line. And finally, we're starting to find a rhythm for Marvin Whitfield, who has been abysmal in this first half. He's just now eclipsed 50 yards passing. That has been how bad this entire first half has been. But finally, we're starting to find a rhythm, and we're just looking to finish the job here on 1st and goal inside the 10. Gonna run it here with Jonathan McGriff, and just completely untouched. We will finally score in this game, and we will take this into halftime, you know, down by 10, which still not ideal by any means, but at least we have a workable situation, and we're able to claw back to the point where here we are in this fourth quarter. We have a chance to take the lead, which if you would have told me that the way that we started, I would have had a hard time believing you. I'm not going to lie on that one, as McGriff is going to go ahead, hands it off up the middle, and McGriff is going to get it across the 35-yard line, as that's going to be a first down for your Dayton Triangles. But we'll go ahead a little bit later in the final quarter of action, facing another third down situation. Whitfield just going to run for it, and he will wisely slide down there as well. Certainly do not want to see him get hurt by any stretch of the imagination. And it will set up a red zone opportunity. We'll throw it out to Leon Thomas, who does make a man miss in the open field. So that will make it second and short, as we'll go right back to the ground game, looking for Jonathan McGriff to pick up the first down, and he is successful. Been a tough day for Jonathan McGriff on the ground, averaging less than 4 yards a carry, but you'll still be able to find a way to make some things shake, as we'll need it to happen once again on this third and goal opportunity. Looking over the middle for Leon Thomas, but he can't haul it in. And so we had hopes and dreams, but they're not going to be able to fall through for us. So we had to settle for the field goal, but I will say that we do have at least one more shot at points, because we do have an opportunity to go ahead and make some things shake out. I'm going to try to throw it over to right hand side for Jonathan McGriff, but I couldn't click on circle fast enough. He was uncovered for a hot second. Just couldn't get it out to him fast enough, though. And now it's going to be 2nd and 10. Whitfield wants to go upfield and didn't love the looks that he had downfield. So we're going to go ahead and just make sure we get the positive yardage and utilize those 2 timeouts as best as we can. Whitfield fires over the middle, finds the second-year man out of Oklahoma State, and Mitch Woodson, who sets up the Dayton Triangles inside the 25-yard line. A golden opportunity to come out and make sure that we at least make this game and bring us into overtime. But we only have 1 timeout that we can utilize from here on out. So got to be wise with our timeouts as we get to the 2nd and 4. Whitfield looks over the middle of the field. He's got Leon Thomas, who's going to be brought down inside the 10-yard line. And Leon Thomas certainly having a big day right now inside this part of the field. But 1st and goal, we're having some confusion at the line of scrimmage. Don't want to use the timeout, but Whitfield puts the ball on the ground, and Tampa Bay is going to recover. That is so devastating. And that's how we drop our 2nd consecutive game, a 20-17 loss. Just absolutely brutal work there at the very end. You hate to see it. And the most frustrating part about us, losing this game is that it was self-inflicted wounds. I mean, you saw that big time, sack that led to, a strip fumble towards the end of the game, which if he would have just went ahead and we would have just, hold on to the ball there, we would have at least forced overtime. But we also, couldn't get a 4th down conversion early in the game as well that eventually led to a Tampa Bay touchdown too. As Marvin Whitfield did generally struggle a little bit in this game, albeit he did have an efficient day, 19 for 27, 215 yards, touchdown, and a pick. He did also lose a fumble as well, but when we actually did have him in gameplay, he actually did a pretty nice job of moving the ball down the field. For the ground game, I mean, it was kind of like a 2-headed monster type of deal. Jonathan McGriff was mostly bottled up in this one. He had less than 3 yards a carry in this matchup, but Marvin Whitfield did make up for it. Even though he did have that fumble, he was efficient with his 6 carries that ended up going in for 45 yards on the day. Receiving wise, Leon Thomas had a huge performance. Leon Thomas was able to get over 100 yards in the matchup. He had 7 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. In addition to that, we had a few other guys that, made some impactful plays here or there, but nothing too much of note. And honestly, the defense didn't play terrible. I thought our defense played fine for the most part, but our offense let us down, unfortunately. Denario Allen did lead the team in tackles. He had 8 total tackles in the ball game, with Von Red able to get 7, but nobody else had more than 5 tackles, with solos and assisted combined. And then we also managed to force multiple sacks as well. Von Red, Jamon Bromley, and Cameron Spencer, they were all able to get to the quarterback, with Cameron Spencer even able to get a forced fumble. Unfortunately, we were unable to recover it, which led to a Tampa Bay field goal, and that ultimately ended up being the difference because we ended up losing by a field goal. It was those little things that made the difference. Alright, man, so we'll go ahead and jump into the coach's office in terms of what we got going on. Is DeAndre Bazier is actually visiting us in the office after the loss, as he's been talking about how he feels like he truly is having a breakout campaign, which he tells us that, and he almost leaves the room, which is really interesting to me. And we were just letting him know, man, like, hey, you on the cusp of being great, which means, hey, maybe could be eligible for another development trade upgrade soon. Speaking of DeAndre Bazier, he is going to get an upgrade here alongside a few other players on the team as well. DeAndre Bazier, who's now sitting as a 76 overall, we're going to work on his physical upgrade this time around. And he actually jumps up several overall, actually. He goes from a 76 up to a 79 in one go, in spite of just having +1s across the board, which is really interesting to me. So, really love seeing DeAndre Bazier continue to improve in spite of this being a, little bit of a disappointing season for us so far. Also getting an upgrade is Jody Gentry, who, for Jody Gentry, he's just one of those guys, man, that he just continues to grind things out, seeing the field early as a special teams guy, kind of paying those dues, so to speak. We'll work on his physical trait here as well, and he does get a 1 overall boost, so not as significant as DeAndre Bazier, but the plus free catch in traffic should help him out get closer to seeing the field more consistently. In addition, our 4th round draft pick in Zaire Furman is going to get an upgrade as well, who, again, sees the field, somewhat occasionally. We'll work on his slot corner abilities this time around, and he will become a 74 overall following this upgrade, with +2s to awareness and zone coverage. And finally, the last of the rookies that is going to get an upgrade for the time being is Tony Ward, who we are still trying to develop as we speak. This time around, we are going to work on what is a good scheme fit for him, and that is pass protection. And he does become that scheme fit, and he jumps up to a 67 overall with +1s across the board. Now, I don't want to go far as to say that this is a must-win game, but with us being 4-6 and with only 7 games left to play, we have Columbus on the road. They're 4-7. We gotta come out. We gotta win this game. It's just I have to have it. So we'll see if the boys can respond, as we'll start with Leon Thomas getting to the outside, picking up the first down. And hopefully it's the start of a very methodical drive here, as, this is how we want to play. We want to make sure that we are controlling the time of possession. We are controlling things in the trenches. And if we do both these things that essentially help play like that offensive part of complementary football, that'll at least help our defense, and the lack of ability to, have been able to get those critical stops. That's why we're still in that bottom half in terms of points allowed this year. But we got to pick up this 3rd down conversion, and we will with Jonathan McGriff, who's just going to slowly but surely gather us forward, as we will get across the 45-yard line. But a key injury to Jonathan McGriff, though. Hopefully it's not too severe of an injury, nothing that our guy couldn't handle. So, but for the time being, that does mean that the 2nd round rookie in Heath Whitehead, he is going to come in, and we're going to need some things to shake out here in the worst way, as we got 3rd and 8 coming up. Whitfield looking to try to make something happen, looking over the middle. He had an open receiver. He was absolutely there. The problem is, we left it short, and, really robbed an opportunity for Mitch Woodson to get some major yards there. So, with that being said, not a lot of scoring happening at all in this first half. Actually, it takes us almost the entire first half for us to even find the end zone, as Marvin Whitfield is going to finally get that goose egg for JD off the scoreboard. That's going to finally make it 7-all. But then a couple of plays later, our defense off screens, is going to force a turnover, and Grayson Heidick is going to nearly find the end zone. Doesn't quite stretch it across the goal line, but gets inside the 5-yard line. And then our running attack, our offensive line in particular, they're going to do the rest of the work as the former second rounder out of California, and Heath Whitehead, well, he is going to find the end zone, and that's going to be another touchdown for your Dayton Triangles. So from that point on, we really start to take off here in terms of trying to leave Columbus in the dust as we find DeAndre Pazier over the middle, and DeAndre Pazier picks up a solid set of yards there. Going to make it 2nd and short coming up as we'll run up the middle. Whitehead trying to get to that first down marker, but does manage to get there. So now it's 1st and goal from the 2, and can we get Whitehead in the end zone a second time? And we do. Completely untouched in the process. Heath Whitehead is going to find the end zone. Touchdown Triangles. And Dayton is going to extend their lead, making it very convincing lead, might I add. It's now 21-10 your score, and with less than 4 minutes left to play in this first half, we have a chance to really put this game on ice, especially if we can get another touchdown, which is exactly why we are going for it here. Gotta risk it for the biscuit sometimes, and sure enough, we got a man open on the perimeter in Mitch Woodson, the second-year man out of Oklahoma State. And that will allow us to start get a lot closer to taking some time off the clock. And how about this effort by Grayson Heidick? My lord, was that a big-time effort from our star tight end? As that's going to wrap things up here. We finally get a win in this episode after losing the first couple of games. So that will bring us back to just 1 game under 500. So it ends up being a pretty comfortable win for your Dayton Triangles as we were able to outrush Columbus 158-38. So it was definitely a sizable in terms of taking care of business on the ground, winning in the trenches. We always love to see that. Now, as for Marvin Whitfield, he did a solid job of managing the game. He went 17 for 28 for 184 yards and a touchdown through the air. So a solid performance, not a liquid or a gas by any means. Running the ball, however, we had some good runs. Heath Whitehead had to take over for Jonathan McGriff as Heath Whitehead ended up running for multiple touchdowns. He had 17 carries for 83 yards. Jonathan McGriff averaged about 4.5 yards a carry. And then Marvin Whitfield was also successful in terms of finding the end zone. For the receivers, it was kind of an even distribution between our top 4 receivers, but Leon Thomas did end up leading the way with 4 catches and 65 yards. Grayson Heidick, on the other hand, was the only person to have that touchdown grab, and he earned it off of an RPO that we had during the game. Defensively, listen, our defense did not do too terribly much in this one as they were hardly on the field. But Paul Hitchens, who did have to take over because we did have an injury to Jeff Sharp. He should be back next week, but Paul Hitchens led the team in tackles. He had 5 tackles, 3 of those being solo. Matt Arnett also had 4 tackles, and we were actually able to force a turnover, which did end up leading to a touchdown on the other end. So that was really nice to see. However, we did not really produce any pressure on the quarterback as we failed to get a sack, but feels good to get back in the winning column, and we'll just go ahead and wait and see if we have what it takes in terms of trying to move forward in terms of getting back to 500. Right after the game, we do get some upgrades for a couple of our critical partners in this win over our rival Columbus. Marvin Whitfield, the starting quarterback who, honestly has been playing some pretty solid ball. I have to give that to him. Not an Andrew Collar, but he's still a good quarterback. We're going to work on his improvisation, just to work on making those big plays when the design play does end up going, breaking down. And his overall is going to remain the same, but he does get a +2 to that deep throw accuracy, which is important because he does have a big arm. And then in addition to that, Heath Whitehead, the former second-round pick out of Cal, he is going to get an upgrade himself, where we're going to try to utilize that power back upgrade as well. He will remain a 77 overall for the time being, but +2s in trucking and break tackling is going to be pretty nice considering how we utilize our running backs when we're actually in gameplay. But after we get done with all the upgrades, our offensive coordinator reaches out to see how far that DeAndre Bazier has gotten along, and that does mean that DeAndre Bazier does get some more XP, but makes me wonder what we got going on here in the coach's office. You think we're going to see DeAndre Bazier once again? And sure enough it is, because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about how he was on the cusp of being a great player, and so we are going to get an opportunity to have a development upgrade, it seems like, for DeAndre Bazier, and sure enough it is. But hey, speaking of DeAndre Bazier, he actually is going to get another upgrade because we're getting some love in terms of actually being able to go ahead and getting him some extra XP. He certainly has been, a big breakout candidate, so we have a chance to work on his playmaker, and that's exactly what we are going to do with DeAndre Bazier, as that is going to take him up to an 80 overall actually, and gets a bunch of upgrades, most notably the +2 to medium route running, which is going to be very helpful as he's turning into a very good number 2. As for the other players that are getting upgrades on our roster, Leon Thomas, who was our number 1 receiver, he's certainly going to get some upgrades as well. So we're going to go ahead and work this deep threat upgrade real quick, and that's going to bring him up to an 88 overall after the upgrades, getting that +2 to the release as well as catch in traffic as well, so that he could take full advantage of being that big bodied receiver that we love to have. In addition, Barry Alfman, our former first-round pick that we selected, I want to say, looks like 4 years ago. So he's in his 4th year in the league from Oregon, as we'll work on his power this time around. He'll stay at an 82 overall for the time being, but +2s across the board in terms of pass blocking and as well as power across the board certainly is going to help us out moving forward. Then the other 2 upgrades that we have goes to Connor Heck, who is currently a center for us, our starting center. Matter of fact, we'll work on his agility for right now, and he's turning into a decent starter for us. He is our weakest offensive lineman in my opinion that's starting, but +2's a run block and run block finesse does get him to a 75 overall, so he is certainly an adequate starter in the prime of his career. And finally, Eric Posey, who has been coming in as our 3rd string tight end as well as our starting fullback, getting a little bit of run here. We get some upgrades for Eric Posey, so we'll work on his vertical threat, and after that, it's going to take him up to a 68 overall, thanks to this upgrade, with notable pluses in short route running as well as the catching as well. Now, we move on to our next week, and as we get ready to prepare our final game of this episode, we do have some news about our practice squad, actually. Otis Whipton, who was on our practice squad, for a couple of years now, he actually does get an opportunity to be called up to the active roster by the New Orleans Breakers, as they were in desperate need of another free safety. So Otis Whipton is actually going to start for them at free safety. We're happy for him, but definitely is going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to remain on the active roster at the UFL level for the long term, though. So sure enough, last game of this episode is simply a game that we gotta have against the Atlanta Legends, which on paper I think we should match up pretty well, but in the UFL anything can happen on any given day, so certainly can't take it for granted, as Atlanta is driving down the field early in the first quarter, and sure enough, after picking up that first down, the Atlanta Legends, they are going to be the team that will be poised to score first in this ball game, as now they're inside the 20-yard line trying to find the corner, and sure enough, breaking a few tackles, and Tyson Farrell nearly picks up the first down on the ground, so not a great start by our rush defense at all, as that could be capitalized as they run it again up the middle, and Farrell is in fact going to pick up the first down. We'll see if they continue to find success on the ground, because I'll tell you something right now, they are certainly having more success on the ground than what I am comfortable with, as Farrell is going to will his way into the end zone. Touchdown Atlanta, and the Legends are going to be up 7-0 early. Meanwhile, late in the first quarter of action, Whitfield is going to go and try to set up the halfback screen. We actually get it set up pretty well, and on a 3rd and 7, we will be able to get the first down conversion. You absolutely love to see it. As now, 3rd and 4 coming right up as Whitfield lines up under center, looking over to the left-hand side, and DeAndre Bonsier cannot haul that one in at all. So that's going to make it 4th down. And so that does mean that we had to settle for a field goal, which makes us more vulnerable for being down by double digits. So got to lock in here. Down the red zone is Dwight Cunningham. Oh my goodness. Oh, he almost had the interception. Hey man, he had a key interception back in the San Antonio game, but just dropped it there this time around. Got an interception on a very, very similar package. So hopefully that doesn't come back and haunt us as 3rd and 4, looking around, trying to pick up the first down, but they'll get more than that as the same man that almost had the interception is going to be the very same person. Is going to be being the end zone. Justin Carruthers is going to score, and that means Atlanta is now going to be up 14-3. Which makes this next drive a lot more critical as Whitfield is going to try to set up the screen, but it simply wasn't there. Nowhere to go with the ball, and just kind of had to eat it as one of our starting offensive linemen, looks like this is Justin Heck, the starting center. He's going to end up being hurt, so Peter Weinstein's going to have to slide in as our center for the time being. But 3rd and 12, though, we throw a beautiful ball over to Leon Thomas. I mean, that's just incredible timing. That is just incredible work there as well for Leon Thomas. And that's how we're going to get right back into the game. Touchdown, Dayton. And that's going to bring an end to the first half. Nothing else of note really happening in the first half. We're down 14-10. But I do want to take this time once again just to kind of see how we're doing in comparison to the rest of the league. So we'll go ahead and check out a few other games that are happening right now. And so it starts with the Pittsburgh Maulers, who we will see next week on a primetime matchup. They're actually giving San Antonio everything they can handle, but they still are going to be down 10-7. Game we'll definitely keep an eye on for early scouting against Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, critical battle in the NFC here is the New Orleans Breakers. They're going to be up 21-14 on the Arlington Renegades. And then for our sake, we're hoping that Memphis loses because that's the team we're competing with a playoff spot for. So with that being said, 14-10 is your score at the halftime break. And so here we are, start the second half. And, you know, we did get the ball, in fact, to start this second half. So definitely want to come out and make sure that we continue to play our game as we're now going to get into the red zone midway through the 3rd quarter of action. Firing out to DeAndre Bonsier, who had blockers for a moment, but Mitch Woodson and Leon Thomas collectively could not hold up. So we only managed to get a few yards there, but a lot closer to the sticks. So as we'll try to run with Jonathan McGriff, but he gets lit up like a Christmas tree. Oh man, we did not get the blocks that we were looking for at all. And now it's going to be 3rd and long. Whitfield in the shotgun, facing a blitz right away. Has to get rid of it quickly. And it's nearly intercepted. Thankfully, it was not corralled in. So at least we come away with a field goal. But certainly a very close call, though. As now the Atlanta Legends, they are going to retain their lead for right now. But we might be getting it back soon as Matt Arnett is going to be able to make an interception. Let's go, baby. 9-11 left in the 4th quarter, and your top corner, the free agent acquisition, comes through and makes a big-time play. And now we have a chance to take the lead here late in this game, getting into that witching hour here in the UFL. As now 1st and 10 coming up from the 17-yard line. Wanting to finish with a big-time score. Looking to the left-hand side. He finds Leon Thomas, who gets brought down from behind, but nearly is going to pick up the first down in the process, as we only need to pick up a half a yard, if even that, to keep the drive going and to avoid settling for yet another field goal. Looking over the middle, he finds Jonathan McGriff, who's going to cut his way in. Touchdown, Dayton! The Dayton Triangles are going to take the lead with less than 5 minutes left to play in the ball game. What a clutch drive, man, that we got out of that. We were even successful with the 2-point conversion as well. And so the big thing is here is that we need to make sure that our defense locks the fuck in right now. That's what we need from our defense at this very moment. So here we go, 1st and 5 after the encroachment penalty, as that brings Atlanta firmly in our territory as they're going to throw over to the right hand side, but it's deflected away at the last second. Looks like it was Nick Cannon, the safety who we brought in through free agency a few years ago. He's able to make a play, so now it's 2nd and 5, looking over the right hand side, and it's going to be caught, completed for a 1st down. The drive will continue. Meanwhile, a few plays later, 1st and 10 from the 33-yard line, looking over the middle, and it's a big catch down the sideline. Jordan Baptiste tracks him down from behind, but it looks like it might be coming down to a goal line stand. 1st and goal from the 5-yard line. Sullivan brings a man into motion. It's going to be a run to the outside. He cuts it back in, and he's going to find his way into the end zone. Running through both Cameron Spencer and Denorio Allen is Terrence Farrell, and we have ourselves a tie ball game. And unfortunately for us, we actually go 3 and out on the next drive, so that means that we are at the mercy of the Atlanta Legends team, as this could be the drive of the season right here. You truly never know, as we got 2nd and 10 after the long incompletion, as Sullivan looking back to the left-hand side wants to go back over in that direction, but Dwight Cunningham is holding up extraordinarily well. And so we now have 3rd and 10. 3rd and 10 from the 31-yard line, looking back over to the left-hand side. This time, he's wide butt naked open, and Denorio Allen tracks him down. But at what cost, though? That's crazy. That's crazy work. And now 1st and 10 from the 23-yard line. Looks like they're going to run up the gut. And at this point, we're just going to let them run into the end zone at that point. We know that time is a critical factor. Didn't want to utilize all of our timeouts, especially after we gave up yet another 1st down conversion. So, hey man, we're going to need a lot of lady luck on our side here right now. We do have all of our timeouts though, so let's see what Marvin Whitfield can do with this, possibly this final drive in regulation. 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line. Looks to the right-hand side. He does find Mitch Woodson right away. Gets the 1st down. We do have to take a timeout. That's a great start to the drive. We got to make sure that we keep it going though, as we have another 1st and 10 opportunity, looking over the middle of the field, looking for Leon Thomas. But that ball was actually going to be dropped by our top receiver. So it's going to be 2nd and 10 instead, as Whitfield looks over the middle. He's got a man downfield. It's Mitch Woodson, the 2nd-year man out of Oklahoma State. He finds the end zone. Touchdown, Dayton. And we needed it bad. We needed it so bad, and we got it. Mitch Woodson, wide butt naked open. And we're going to actually force overtime in the process. And we also force Atlanta to not score any points on their first overtime possession. So next score in this game is going to win the game for either team. So, and with us now being across midfield, momentum is completely on our side, and the fate of this game is completely in our hands. Jonathan McGriff is going to get us now into field goal range. So as long as we take care of the ball, handle our business here, don't do anything stupid essentially, we should have a game-winning field goal set up. But for now, we're going to run it with Leon Thomas, who gets absolutely decked while trying to get a carry. One to get a touch for, one of our top playmakers on our team. That's going to now bring up 2nd and 5. We'll pick up the 1st down there with Jonathan McGriff. And at the bare minimum, the field goal attempt would be significantly easier, as we'll throw for it on 1st and 10. Looking around, wants to go to the left-hand side. We had Leon Thomas. He had a step, actually, just overthrew him, which is a shame because, hey, that could have been a touchdown, and it would have been game over. if we were able to connect on that touchdown throw. But hey, instead, we're going to stay on schedule. We're going to stay on the chains here, make it 3rd and short here as Whitfield lines up one more time under center. We'll hand the ball off up the middle, and that will get us across the 10-yard line. Now we have ourselves a goal line opportunity. 1st and goal from the 7. Let's cut it to a couple of plays later. McGriff running up the middle. He's in! He's in! Touchdown, Dayton! And Jonathan McGriff is going to finish the job. And this was a battle. A battle that we witnessed in the final game of this episode. Jonathan McGriff is going to shut the door. And how about that strong running? He gets contacted by multiple players before the 4-yard line. And with that being said, this is a massive win for our playoff hopes, as we are now going to be back at 500, winning 34-28. And Atlanta, on the other hand, they're going to fall to 4-8, and likely the season's over for them. Now, I am certainly glad that we were able to find a way to pull this off in overtime, but at the same token, it should have gone to overtime in the first place. What ended up happening to us is that, we blew that lead. We blew the lead in the 4th quarter, and if it wasn't for those last-minute heroics, we would have dropped 3 of our last 4 games. But again, just very fortunate that we were able to come out on top. As for Marvin Whitfield, Whitfield had a tremendous day through the air, actually. 21 for 33, 261 yards, 3 touchdown passes, including the touchdown pass that was able to send us into overtime in the first place, albeit he did end up throwing an interception as well. For the ground game, Jonathan McGriff nearly ran for 100 yards on the ground. He had 96 yards and, most importantly, the game-winning touchdown as well that allows us to be back at 500 on the season, with Marvin Whitfield getting a handful of yards as well. As for the receivers, nobody made it to like 100 plus yards in this game, but 3 different receivers did end up finding the end zone. No, Mitch Woodson, the 2nd-year man out of Oklahoma State, actually ends up being our leading receiver with 4 catches for 88 yards. Leon Thomas wasn't too far behind with 5 catches and 77 yards. And then Jonathan McGriff, he does end up getting 50 yards and a touchdown through the air as well. DeAndre Bozier, who we did have that upgrade opportunity in terms of that development trait, he's going to fall well short of that, only 5 catches for 32 yards, as he seems like he's fading a little bit on the back end here in the second half of the season. Now, for the defense, it was a well-rounded effort for our defense, actually, as they were able to go ahead and make some work happen. Ty Moody, Dwight Cunningham, Jeff Sharp, and Jordan Baptiste actually all had at least like 7 tackles, which is, really good to see. Just a well-rounded effort. But what really made me extremely happy was that we were just a disruptive group. Jamon Bromley had multiple sacks in this ball game, but we were also able to have, multiple interceptions as well. Ty Moody, Jeff Sharp, and Matt Arnett all had turnovers, and that turned out to be the difference in this one. But right after the game, though, Jamon Bromley was able to get a big-time upgrade for us, as, we're working to continue to build this defense. And Jamon Bromley, we're going to give him that run-stopping upgrade, help him work the interior. And while he stays at an 84 overall for right now, that +2 to tackling will certainly come in handy at some point later on, especially in this back half of the season when things get tough. So we go ahead and we will jump into our press conference here real fast, as in terms of how far DeAndre Bozier has came this year. And he's growing a lot. He's still improving, so no dev upgrade, but he's still getting there. Although it does turn out that for Ty Moody's efforts, they certainly did not go unnoticed, as not only did he stand out in our game, he stood out in our conference in general, as he ends up with 8 tackles and an interception. That was, in fact, good enough to be the AFC Defensive Player of the Week in a critical win against the Atlanta Legends, while one of your guys' other customs in Vin Doom just so happens to get the Offensive Player of the Week in the NFC. He ends up throwing for over 350 yards, almost 400 total yards if you count his rushing, and he had 4 total touchdowns, as the Utah Chiefs are looking to possibly have a franchise quarterback on their hands in the custom Vin Doom. So guys, we only have 5 weeks left in the season, and here's how the standings are currently shaking out as of right now. We are still in the thick of the playoff hunt, but certainly on, kind of that bubble, so to speak, as, the Houston Roughnecks are only 1 game behind us, with that 5-7 record. And the same could also be said for the Pittsburgh Maulers, the Boston Mariners, the DC Defenders, and the Memphis Showboats as well, all having a 5-7 record. So even though we currently have a playoff spot as of right now, at the same time though, it is going to be critical that we finish strong if we want to end up making the playoffs for our 2nd consecutive season. And then just taking a quick look around to see what's happening in the NFC. As of things stand right now, Louisville currently has the lead in the North, but the Chicago Enforcers are hot on their heels with just a half game back for the time being. The Michigan Panthers are still also very much in this thing, but because they suffered a 3-game losing streak, they need to refocus in if they want to make the playoffs. The Minnesota Blizzard are also an improved team. Meanwhile, in the South, where Otis Lipton wins, the New Orleans Breakers actually have arguably the best record in the NFC right now. They are hot with a 3-game winning streak, and they've built a 2-game lead over both the Arlington Renegades and the Tampa Bay Bandits, which we did end up losing to. But since they beat us, they are now on a 2-game losing streak. Of course, beating Atlanta was a nice touch for our season. In the East, the Philadelphia Stars, who did win the UFL championship this past season, they are on the warpath to making the playoffs once again with a respectable 8-4 record. Charleston, however, is giving them a good chase, as they were tied with them for a little bit, but that's not happening any longer. New Jersey and Charlotte have ways to go. In the West, the Arizona Hotshots, they currently lead the West with a similar record of 8-4, but the Seattle Dragons are also above 500 and are currently in the playoff hunt themselves. And yeah, this is what the NFL standings in general look like if the season ended today. We currently have the 15th best record in the league, and we would be picking somewhere in the middle of the 1st round of the UFL draft. And of course, the Orlando Guardians and the Battlehawks of St. Louis, they're actually basically tied for the worst record in the league. So with that being said, guys, this upcoming Monday night matchup that we have against our division rival in Pittsburgh, it's an extremely crucial game, one that we definitely need to lock in on if we want to make sure that we make the playoffs for that 2nd year in a row. So next season, it's going to be a 1-game thing. We are going to be playing against Pittsburgh in the next episode. Huge playoff implications on the line, and I hope you guys are certainly excited for what we got going on in that Monday night matchup. If you guys are excited for that, and you also enjoyed this, I guess, quad game that we had going on in the UFL, do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.